Welcome to the Bergstrom Bunch podcast. I'm Jason, and I'm here with my son Caleb.
Hello, everyone.
So last week, we were talking about this a little bit earlier, the Kentucky Derby. This dude, Rick Dawson, has one horse, and his Rich Strike. It was the second greatest odds of 80-1, right? And his horse won the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, I was actually not watching the Derby, but I was out rock climbing while it was happening.
Yeah, I've never actually watched the Derby either.
I was with some friends, and they had a bunch of names of horses, and they were like, hey, pick some. So we picked some, and they were like, we're going to give $100 to whoever has the winning horse. So
Nice.
My wife won the horse that it was like 80-1 odds, but ended up, what was it, Rich
Strike.
Rich Strike ended up winning the race.
80-1. They should have given her more than $100. Like,
Maybe.
Wait, you picked the 80-1?
Well, we didn't
$1,000?
put any money in. So,
I know, but okay.
Yeah, it was like a
I'll
free
text
lottery.
them. All right. Well, okay. $100. No money gained, or no money given, no money spent. All gained. So
Yeah.
that's cool. So, well, people look at that and would say, "Man, that guy is so lucky." Maybe, but is it all luck?
Yeah, I mean, looking at that horse, the odds were clearly against that guy and his horse. So a lot of people would look and think maybe some scenario helped them out a little bit.
So I read something about the trainer. The trainer said, "We've been training perfectly, and this horse loves the track." And so there's luck, but there's also something behind it, and that's putting in a lot of hard work.
Yeah, that's something that's interesting. I didn't hear that statement from the trainer, but hearing that the horse loves the track, I wonder what would lead him to say that if the horse just can't wait to get back out there and run again. Clearly, they're helping the horse to stay recovered and able to go back on there and making sure he doesn't go on every time he wants to. So I don't know. That's really interesting, though. That just like seeing the horse win is actually something that's really cool. We like to vote for an underdog.
Oh yeah. Well, I've never actually watched the Kentucky Derby, but I've seen a few horse movies, and you see that horse just loves racing.
Yeah.
It's true in the horse movies. So
Yeah, I had a lot of older sisters who were big horse fans, so I watched a lot
yeah.
of horse movies as well.
yeah, absolutely. All right, so we want to kind of dive into this idea of hard work and work ethic, and I want to swing it back to luck though, because when I used to work in sales, and we would have headsets in front of the computer, and people would call in, and we'd sell airline tickets, and we worked on commission. And my buddy Jeff, he only typed with two fingers, just he'd peck away, but he cranked out the sales. And all my other coworkers looked at Jeff and they said, "Man, Jeff is so lucky," because he was one of the top salesmen in the whole company. Everyone's like, "Jeff is lucky, man. He is lucky." But when I looked at them, they would take lunch breaks, coffee breaks, smoke breaks. The roach coach would roll by. They'd run out for a burrito. And Jeff so they would take about 30 to 40 calls a day. Jeff took 150 calls a day. And so I looked at that, I'm like, well, it stands to reason that he's 5 times luckier than you are, because he takes 5 times the calls. Jeff works hard. He puts in the work.
Yeah, it's almost like everyone had the same odds. He was just doing many more calls than they were.
He was good. He's a funny guy. He was good with customers too. But yeah, he's just a hard worker. But let's talk about the sport of ninja a little bit. Which you're deep into, or both deep into, you more than I, but you were in a recent competition, NSN, a competition series, and it's some of the best from all over, and everyone runs through the first stage, and then they advance the top 10 to the next stage. And I was listening to the live stream. I wasn't able to make it out to cheer you on, but they said, "Caleb, Baby Bergie is the oldest one of all the finalists." And we look at this sport, and it's these young people are just killing it in this sport. And some people would say, well, they're just naturally gifted. They have this raw talent, which enables them to do that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, in one stance, that's true. These are naturally gifted people. Generally, whenever you see the top and the best athletes, you're going to see a lot of naturally gifted athletes doing their thing. And yeah, it was true. I was the oldest person there, which being like, my name was Baby Bergie whenever I went on the show, because I was the youngest person, and within just a few years, that's changed so significantly, because all these 14-year-olds
3 years older later, you're the old guy.
Yeah, well, because, and this is simply that they have been doing ninja out of love for the sport for so long, and they have part of that is they have good coaches helping them out as well. And that doesn't give credit to the coaches, that's just, these kids are working hard. And I'm very proud to see a lot of them doing as well as they're doing, because some of them are my own students, or some of them are people I've known for a long time. But my thought to people viewing these kids as somehow advantaged over adults, I would say that that's not quite the way I would look at it personally. And I kind of want to share this in a way to make sure everyone still understands that being younger does help you recover a little bit faster in this sport, especially because it's so high impact. Yeah, at the same time, being older gives you more opportunities to set your own schedule and train a way that you want to train. So I think that a lot of the advantages are simply a lack of understanding of how training should be done. Because as a 22-year-old individual, I should not be out of my prime yet. I shouldn't be an old man walking with a cane, even until I'm 30. People who have won American Ninja Warrior have all been older than 25. I'm not sure the exact ages, but most of them have been in their 30s.
Yeah.
So looking at that, I think we just need to comprehend and understand proper training principles with Ninja before we actually make the decision that all these teens just have a great advantage. You know what I mean?
Well, one thing I see, though, is that this is what they do.
Yeah.
They're putting in the work. This is their passion. Some of these kids have watched every single episode of American Ninja Warrior 15, 16, 18, 20 times, and when they're not training, they're studying. They're
Right.
watching YouTube over and over and over, and it's their life. But they're absolutely putting in the work. Wherever they're at a park, they're at a family get together, they're finding a way to balance, to ninja, to climb on a tree, to do something, and it's kind of cool to watch just the amount of effort that some of these 14, 15, 16-year-olds have put into this sport.
Yeah, I mean, the guy who won the Ninja Sport Network competition was the youngest competitor in the final 10. Actually, I was in first place until that last round when he came forward and completed the burnout course, and I did not complete it, so he ended up beating me. But I've known him because he lives in Florida. I've known him since he was tiny, and he was still strong back then, but clearly not able to do the things he's able to do now. But that guy, he's in his backyard training every single day.
Oh yeah.
Maybe sometimes to the point of his detriment, but it doesn't matter that much to him because he's smart too. He'll recover and he'll go and do it again and train literally as hard as he can, whether it's hot or raining. Like legitimately, whether it's 105 degrees out there or pouring rain on him, he'll be out there training with his
outside,
brothers.
putting in the work. Yeah. So let's dial into this idea of work ethic a little bit more. So before Ninja, kind of the thing we did for exercise was just working out. We'd go running. We'd go to this cardio challenge class at the Y. We would, we'd climb trees and play airsoft and lift weights. And I remember at the YMCA, I'm trying to remember how old you were. You were probably in the neighborhood of 7, 8, 9 years old, and they had a race, a 1 mile race.
I was 8. Yeah.
You were 8. Okay. So I signed you up for the race, and we hadn't really done serious training for running, just running here and there, and you guys would play tag. But I remember after you were registered, one night you asked me, "Hey Dad, want to wake up at 6 in the morning and go train some sprints in the backyard?" Now, you were homeschooled, so 6 was a few hours before you had to actually start school, so
right.
Could have been 7 or 8. But want to wake up at 6? That's what you asked me. Sure.
Yeah, that was probably from some sports movie I watched where the guy was waking up, maybe like The Rookie or something, where the guy was waking up at 6 a.m. to train. I think that was just like the golden time in my brain, as an athlete.
That's it. But it was consistent for several weeks leading up to this little 1 mile race. You wanted to train and put in the work. And I remember you creating your own workouts. Hey, Dad, I ran a half mile, and then I climbed the tree, and then I did some pull-ups and some push-ups, and I ran another half mile. And you had this workout you created. But the race, I remember the race, you looked strong, you looked confident, and you finished well. You didn't win, but you did great. And so I think that kind of set a tone for you for future athletic endeavors.
Yeah, actually, I think I won that race for my age group. the 6 to 8 age group.
Okay.
But yeah, I remember being really proud that my mile time went down almost 2 minutes in the span of our training.
Nice.
Probably just because I learned how to breathe instead of holding my breath or breathing out of my mouth. But I remember watching the winner because it was the finish was a big circle, and the circle took about a minute to complete because it was a cross country run.
So you could see all the way across the lake.
So I could see across. I could see across the lake, and I saw him, and he looked so effortless. His legs were super long too. He was a lot bigger than I was because it was like I think between 8 and 12 years old or 6 and 12 years old the race was, and he was one of the oldest kids. And then I remember he put down like a 6:20 mile or something like that. Yeah, in my mind that was blazing. So my goal was to run a 6:20 mile.
Nice.
So I started training for that afterwards, which, I'm not actually much of a distance runner athletically. Like, that's not my favorite thing to do. But I started running all the time. That was like the main thing I was doing for workouts. And usually I did it with you.
How long was it before you hit the 6:20 mile?
I think when I was 12, actually. When I
Okay.
hit the 6:20 mile. Yeah, I wasn't ever ridiculously fast whenever it came to putting time in, but I think about 4 years later, I hit that 6:20 mile.
Nice. Yeah, I don't think you did the mile race after that, but
I did it once.
okay,
Yeah,
one more time.
and I did get first place overall
Nice.
in it that time. And I think I felt really upset with myself because I had the option to do the 3-mile race with the adults, and I chose to do the 1-mile race just to see if I could win. And then when I won, I was like, oh, because I think I won, but I didn't put as fast of a time as the kid who actually had won like 2 years before. So that bothered me. I was like, so wait, if he had been here, I would have lost. So, or if that 12-year-old version of him had been there, I would have lost.
So do you think that sports training, that, and you played football for a season and wrestled for a season, and does that cross over into regular life, just work in general?
Yeah, I would say it can, depending on your mindset on it. I would say generally people believe that it does because a lot of the time it will. Whenever I was in football, our team lost every single game. 12 games, I think it was. We lost every single one.
It's a sad season.
Yeah, we won every single half game. Like by halftime, we were ahead. I think probably 11 out of our 12 games.
Yeah.
And then usually someone got discouraged or tired.
Quarterback had a
meltdown. He got hit in the crotch a lot. And then we were done. Our games would be over. And it became almost a self-fulfilling cycle. And then in wrestling, I trained a lot, but I was never allowed to compete because I was homeschooled, which it's still inconclusive why that happened because my coach gave me a reason. But then one of my kids, one of my teammates there told me that my paperwork had just never been submitted in general.
It was a state thing. Yeah, we were fighting the state on that one. Yeah.
Well, anyway, back to the question though. Yeah, I think the mindset of working hard, even whenever it hurts, for a gain that is in the future, that translates to work and working in the workplace as well.
Well, I found for myself, that was one of the things that taught me to work hard because it's in a season, in a matter of weeks, you can put in the work and then you can see a definite improvement and you can see, hey, this guy beat me 2 weeks ago and now I've got a chance to run against him again and now I beat him because I've been working harder. And I think of wrestling. I remember talking with my teammates after one practice and we agreed that, man, I can't imagine anything else in life being as hard as wrestling. And it's kind of true. As I look back, there's very few days or very few things I've gone through that I would look back and say, man, that was tougher than wrestling. You develop this tenacity and this drive to work. And, when you're going to have to get out there on a mat, just you and your opponent, and you're out there in a singlet, all the girls in the school is watching, your mom is there, and the last thing you want to do is go out and get pinned to some dude. You want to emerge victorious. So it really motivates you to put in the work.
Yeah, you especially don't want to get pinned wearing like the golden singlet that Danny had.
Oh yeah, a little too thin fabric. Yeah,
he was proud of it though, I think.
Well,
anyway, we don't need to talk about that.
Everyone's got their thing. Well, so I don't have a lot of natural athletic talent. I don't know that I have a lot of natural talent in general. I feel like for me, the only thing I feel like I'm naturally good at is putting stuff together with my hands. Everything else has been just a lot of hard work to learn to put in the work, whether it was running or wrestling, and just go out and do the work and figure it out and get stronger by putting in the work. You, on the other hand, were always naturally athletic, and you were always drawn to sports. Like, we never watched sports at home, but anytime as a kid, anytime we were out and there was a game on TV, you as a toddler, you'd look and you say, football, baseball, hockey. You knew what all the sports were, and I wasn't sure how you even knew, but you were just drawn to that, and you just kind of had this natural sense of how to move your body and how to flip and roll, and
Yeah. Yeah, I think I just enjoyed discovering new ways to move and do things, and sometimes I was just angry enough to try something out. Like whenever I was young, I just slammed my head into the ground because I was angry.
While you were running, you headbutted the ground.
Yeah, I learned how to do a somersault like that, and then I started doing that a lot, and I would jump off the couch and do it, and so I think stuff like that as a kid, you just learn how to move and play, and that's kind of what makes you athletic. But yeah, I guess part of that is that you always pushed us to be physically fit. Even whenever I was a kid, like 6 years old, I had to go on runs with you, and that was in California back then. And we would run like up in my brain, it was like a mountain we were running up.
Oh no, that was an intense hill.
Was it?
Yeah. That wasn't. You could almost reach the ground in front of you. Yeah.
But
we'd claw your way up that hill.
We'd run. I think I only ever ran halfway up it. I don't think I ever made it to the top. I can't remember honestly.
Yeah, the family runs. Everyone loved those.
Yeah.
Well,
Most everyone.
No, not really. So, but there was the point as you kids got older, I decided to let you guys take the reins of your own athletic development. Like I had been forcing, we'd been training together, whether it was this class at the Y or weights and I remember telling everyone in the house, like, okay, you guys you're going to be adults someday. Some of the older siblings were kind of at that point, but you guys are in charge of your own athletic development. And I remember almost everyone just fell off the map. Like, okay, if I'm in charge and I'm doing nothing. And so after a month of people doing nothing, so okay, this isn't working. We're back to Dad being in charge. So I instituted Dad's boot camp, where Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you guys had to meet me at the mailbox at 6 a.m. and we ran a 5K through the neighborhood. If you showed up at 6:01, you owed me 2 5Ks. Any fond memories of those?
Well, I remember feeling like there was a lot of injustice because I don't think I was one of the ones who dropped off my training whenever you gave us our own schedule, because I was doing it regardless anyway. And then so for me, having to wake up at 6 felt like I was being punished for someone else's lack of training, you know what I mean? So I didn't love doing that, waking up that early consistently to do that, because running's just not the first thing I think to do whenever I wake up in the morning. Personally, whenever I wake up, I feel like my head's going to explode and I need to like get my body ready before I can do anything. So I'm not as much of a morning person usually, or maybe I just don't believe I am and that's why I'm not. But eventually, yeah, I actually do have some fond memories of running in the morning, because getting everyone in the house together, because we had a lot of people in the house at that point in time after adopting kids and having leadership development going through our house and stuff. It was always fun to have a huge crowd to go run with, because usually when I ran, it was alone or with Danny or with you. And that was about it. So, yeah, I remember it being kind of awesome, actually.
Yeah, I don't think everyone remembers it being awesome, but,
yeah,
we got it done. Well, because one thing I see is there's a lot of young people that haven't developed a work ethic. I hear young people complain like, man, I've got a 20-hour work week this week, and that's a big struggle. And I mean, I've worked a work day that's longer than that, and it just feels like there's not this toughness, not this tenacity. When I compare it to like my brother-in-law, Brad, in Wyoming. And in Wyoming, you have to work just to keep your head above water. It's struggle, because you never know what's going to come up. There could be a drought, there could be disease that spreads through all the cattle, and every day is work, and every day is preparing for winter, which is brutal. And you could be the first day of spring, you're already thinking about winter. And so I remember a couple of years ago, we were out in Wyoming for a family reunion, and Brad discovered the game What Are the Odds? And you want to tell this story?
Sure, yeah. We were playing that game, What Are the Odds? Basically, you ask, what are the odds you do this? Then you count down, like if you say 4, you count down with that person. If you guys say the same number between 1 and 4, then you have to do the thing.
So what are the odds you'd talk to this stranger? What are the odds you'd eat this, lick of the shoe?
Yeah, and then I'd say 5, and we'd count down, and if we got the same number, I had to do it, basically. So my Uncle Brad discovers the game, and the first thing he asks, I think it was to me, was, what are the odds you go out tonight and bale hay for 4 hours? And I think I said like 2 or 4. I something
too low of a number.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, I didn't mind doing it because I thought I was just gonna have to go out at like 11 in the evening and just throw some hay in the back of a truck or something. You know what I mean? What I didn't realize is you can only bale hay in the middle of the night.
When the dew's at the right level, the temperature,
so that the hay will stick properly, not crack, or I'm not sure exactly why, but
we're not farmers.
Yeah, we're not farmers. There was just some reasons that we had to do it. So I was taught how to use one of those massive balers, a huge tractor that sucked the hay in and turned it into a huge hay bale and, twined it and tossed it out the back. So I sat with Brad, and we went out there late at like 10:30, and I sat with him, and he was teaching me how to do it, and I did the first one completely wrong. He was like, well, there's some wasted money right there. So he went out and cut it all out, and then went and did it again, and I did it right that time. He was like, all right, you're ready to go. Just stay out of Cody's way. If you have any questions, you can radio him, which the radio, I think, didn't end up working. I had to like run out one time and wave him down. Anyway, I was out there till like 2:30 in the morning or something, baling hay, which also was actually a great time because I played some country music and just went out there with the lights on.
That's the only option out there.
Yeah, that's it. You can only play country music in Wyoming. Anyway, and it wasn't like a great time because we had to wake up for church really early in the morning after that, like 7, so I didn't get a whole lot of sleep.
Well, Brad got a good night's sleep.
Oh, Brad got a good night's sleep, yeah. But I won't forget that story.
But I think of how hard he grew up working hard. His dad has these massive, like, rock hands, and the kids, they have to get up early to milk the cow and to check their traps, and I mean it's a lot of work. Sure. If you don't work hard, you don't survive. They learn how to churn butter. They are Little House on the Prairie, and that's how people throughout history grew up. I mean, kids just grew up. That's why you had kids. That's why you had a lot of kids, so they could work the farm, work the ranch, and that was just part of life, and it's not so much anymore.
Right. Well, I think part of the reason that's the case is, this is a good thing. We're pushing the thought process that you shouldn't just work hard and never have it go anywhere smart. And I'll say that a little better, is like, instead of just working 9 to 5 every single week, how about you start your own business, or how about you educate yourself so you can do a better job than just working at like say a library or somewhere that's going to pay you less than you need to survive, or even just minimum wage. You know what I mean? Maybe not a library. That's not a great example, but just working somewhere that's going to pay you just because they need employees and bodies in the room. Instead, learn and grow your skills, and then start to do jobs that will actually, pay you more. Yeah. So one of the reasons then people don't want to work is they feel like they're not getting paid for skills they think they should be having. But then I think we forget we also should be developing our skills in order to be paid for those skills we think we should be having, because we oftentimes look at our future self and want to be paid for that person. Yep. That's why it's so hard to work a job where you're not being paid for that, because the job you need to do is simply scanning items that literally takes a few hours of training, and then you get it done, and that's all you're doing. And I'm not saying having that job means you're a lazy person. I think everyone needs to start by getting in there and getting a job and making it happen, especially at a young age. But what that means is eventually you need to start developing your skills so that you could work a job that is actually worth something. Because if you are skilled and you are the only person who can do something, then you're going to get paid more to do that thing. Yeah. So I think that's why it's part of the reason why it's so hard to work for a lot of these younger people, as you mentioned, is because they don't really care about the work that they're doing. What they primarily care about is how fast they can get back to the couch and watch the shows that we're watching, or stay on Instagram, because those things consume so much of our thought and our time. That work just feels like the step away from that, almost forcing us away from that. For what reason? Yeah.
So when you were younger, I had a handyman business, and I remember pulling you in when you were 10 years old. And I had a job we were doing 700 feet of fence. and I had a crew with me, but I wanted to get your feet wet and working, and enable you to make some money, but also to teach you about the process of work and how that can benefit you. And so I'd start a screw on a board and then move to the next one, and you would finish driving the screw in and put one underneath, and then you were my gopher. I need a new battery for the drill. I need more screws. Bring me that shovel. And you just had to hustle. Anything I needed, it was your job to hustle. And so the first day, you're 10 years old, we worked a 10-hour day. Because I like to, if I'm gonna drive somewhere and set up, I want to do as little driving and setup on that job as possible. If the job's an hour away and setup's half an hour, I've got that hour and a half every single day. It's the same hour and a half. I'd just rather compress. So I like to just get in, work a long, hard days, and get out. So you did great the first day. Second day, you're kind of sore, really sunburned, and you moved a lot slower.
I complained more too.
Yeah. Dad, and okay, sit in the shade if you need to, drink water, go at your pace. But the first day you made $40, $4 an hour. And the second day, I gave you $20. You remember that?
I do. Yeah.
You were to the point of tears. And I tried to make you understand, I'm not upset at you. If I paid you per screw you drove in or board you carried, you did twice as much actual work yesterday as today. You said, but Dad, I'm tired. I'm sunburned. I said, so it's okay that you're tired and sunburned. I'm just paying you for the work that you do. That's all. It's not a big deal. If you need to relax and rest in the shade, that is totally fine. I don't want you passing out on me, but you remember how you felt about that?
Yeah, well, I remember the first day being amazed at how much money I did get.
Yeah.
$40 was a lot of money for me. I was expecting $12. I actually had this image in my brain that you were going to go to all the other guys at the job, who you also hired out, and say, all right, guys, we got to pay Caleb. I need everyone to throw some money in this hat. That was my image. I thought everyone was just going to pitch
pick
in
up
to
some
pay
coins
me.
off the ground.
I thought that's how it was going to be. So whenever I got actual bills, I was pretty amazed. So the next day I was expecting the same thing. And I didn't have a concept of how you viewed work at that point in time. So the third day I worked a little bit harder.
Actually, the third day you stayed home.
Did I? Really?
Yes, you said, Dad, I'm sore, I'm tired, I don't think I'm going to go in today.
Yeah,
and so you didn't come in the third day.
Then.
Yeah,
maybe I
decided,
maybe I blocked that.
And I
from
said,
my
that's
memory.
fine. I didn't want you to feel forced into it, but day 4 and beyond, you never gave me a bad day at work.
Okay.
Because you knew I was going to pay you what you're worth.
How many days was that fence job?
We had 700 feet. We did 100 feet a day. That was a 7-day job.
Okay. Yeah, I remember being there more than just 2 days. So,
yeah.
Okay. So it wasn't exactly the third day.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Wow, I didn't realize I stayed home one of those days. Makes sense.
There were some jobs that were far away, and I remember we were out till 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
And you would bring your schoolwork. And so I remember when there were times where we were kind of down to the detail work, and I'm making fine cuts on crown molding and caulking, and not really a job for you yet until it was time to clean up. You always come, Dad, what can I do? Dad. I'm like, it's okay. You're on the clock because you're doing exactly all I have for you to do right now. So that was time to do schoolwork. So you got paid to do schoolwork for a little bit.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
I was always worried about that. Well, also, I just didn't want to do schoolwork in general. Working with you was more fun than doing school. Even whenever it was harder jobs, because I got to see something happen other than just a piece of paper. I got to see a project come together, and that's really what I learned, is that whenever you work hard and get the job done that day, you get to see your results faster, and then you get to see money faster too. But that really wasn't why you worked, I could tell, because you always had the plans ready to go. You always were ready to do the job. Like whenever we did the fence job, you had everything planned out. You knew exactly where everything was going to go, and so. And I could just tell that you were doing the work because you loved doing good work, and that was cool for me to learn.
So almost 5 years ago, we started building out the gym.
Yeah.
And, man, we didn't have AC. Summers in Florida are brutal, so we had this big metal building that was just hot as can be, very little airflow, and we just had to bust it out. Some of those were some long days.
Yeah.
Trying to get it knocked out. Some of it was brain work, but a lot of it was just repetitious, mudding drywall, sanding wood, scraping floors, insulating the ceiling, putting up the fabric.
That was the worst job
tens
ever.
of thousands of little self-tapping screws up on the scaffolding, moving insulation.
Above your head, like old insulation that got in your eyes and stuff. That was the worst job.
Each of you guys, when it was insulation time, each of you guys on our big portable Bluetooth speaker, like a big suitcase, each of you guys had your own jam that you had to play to pump you up.
Yep.
Danny, it was Prince of Egypt.
It was Prince of Egypt for most of us.
Okay. Chris, it was like Disney
Yeah.
tunes, but everyone had to have their pump-up song to get through that day of work.
Yeah. Yeah, that was horrible.
But yeah, it was basically a year and a half of just showing up every day.
Yeah, and not every job was horrible. Building obstacles was super fun.
Oh yeah.
And testing them after you set them up and everything that. So and
First run through of an obstacle.
Yeah, those were the days I really enjoyed because you got to see like the fruit of your labor. I like to see the end result a lot of the time, and I love seeing the process, especially even like I like the books. Whenever I read books, I like the books about the guy who was kind of weak and then he had to train really hard to get strong, or he like finds a mentor and that mentor trains him really hard. So I like that underdog to hero process, and I like that with building as well, where it's like nothing and then you start with nothing and then you eventually have something. And I'm the type of guy who almost gets bored when the job is finished, and then it's like maintenance time and you're just keeping the place together. Like that's not as much my favorite thing. I like new projects. I like seeing new things happen, which is why I think I like Ninja, because every obstacle can just be a new project and I can just build new things all the time.
Changes all the time.
Yeah. Which is overwhelming, but at the same time, for a guy like me who just likes to continuously do it, it's really fun.
Yeah. Well, it's cool to see just the work that's gone into the gym. When people come into the gym for the first time, especially people that have a background in woodwork, I see them look up and like, oh my word, this looks like a lot of work. You have no idea. Every single board was routed by hand, sanded by hand, stained. A lot of volunteers, but just a lot of busting it out.
Right. Okay, so we've talked about working hard.
Yeah.
And I know you personally are one of the hardest workers I know. Like it's almost your favorite thing to do is going and get a project done, going and getting a project finished or starting a project. So how would you personally, since you've experienced a lot of this in your life, how would you advise people to be able to work hard instead of just be lazy?
Well, you have to see the end. You have to have a goal of, hey, here's what I want to achieve. And just knowing that, for me, I want to get a project done, but I want to get it done. I want to get it out of the way. I want to get it done quickly. I don't want it to lag and on and on and on. And just, I like getting it done. But something that's been important for me, whether it's being on a job when I was doing handyman work and just thinking about how can every line be cut perfectly and every, paint line be perfect. There's a verse that impacted me. It's in Colossians 3:23 says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for men, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. And so this idea that, I'm working for, this guy, I'm doing this project on his house, but what if I was working on Jesus' house? What if Jesus was my boss? How would that impact my work? And there's times when it's like, okay, the project's pretty much done, but I could just, tie it up this way and be done with it. But nope, here's actually the best way to do it. Here's the right way. So it's worth the extra time, the extra money and materials to just make sure it's done right and to get it done and make sure that it all comes together. It's actually, working hard didn't come naturally for me. I remember as a kid, I had chores that I had to do every week. I was in charge of the yard work, was the main one. I had to do all the edging and mowing and trimming of the bushes. And I remember every Saturday I had this mindset of, I want to get the yard work done, then I can have the rest of my day free. And so many Saturdays I kind of did what I wanted to do, and then I realized, okay, sun sets in an hour. I need to go out and do the yard work and just get it done. And I became so frustrated with myself. Like, I was going to do this first thing in the morning. I was going to get it done early, and I still did probably the same stuff I would have done in the day, but I had this project, this yard work looming in the back of my mind all day long.
All the time.
Yeah. And so it kind of put a damper on the whole day. And I knew that, and okay, next Saturday I'm going to get the yard work done, and it was this repeating cycle. And it took me a while to learn to just set a habit of go out, and Mark Twain said if you have to eat a frog, you don't want to stare at it all day. If there's something you don't want to do, something rough, just go get it done,
Right.
knock it out, get it off the list, and you move on from there.
So that feeling of satisfaction of getting a job done well is something you learned.
And the dread of the satisfaction of getting a job done well. I love that, but also the dread of that job just looming ahead of you
In your brain.
I'd rather let's just get it done, get it
Right.
out of the way, put it past us.
Yeah. And I think something that helped me a lot, especially whenever it comes to doing jobs that I don't feel like are that important, whether that was work I had to do. I remember over quarantine, I had to make these, I didn't have to, but we chose to make these workout videos for everyone at our gym and on our team. And as I was making these videos, we were making like one a day, I believe. Yeah.
Yep.
Throughout the weeks, we made a lot of videos, and it wasn't always easy to come up with workouts for people, especially whenever I don't think anyone was doing them. I think people were getting them, and like, I'm not sure. It seemed like maybe one person was doing the workouts. So I was frustrated that like I was doing all this work and nothing really was being significantly helped at all with it whenever it came to our gym. I wanted to make sure people knew we cared and stuff like that. And so doing this, I wasn't even sure if people were seeing it and knew like that we were actually trying as a gym over quarantine. But then I was listening to this podcast actually by Craig Groeschel, of course. He's our guy. But one of the things that I heard on that podcast was that if you're in a season where you're doing a job that you don't feel like is your actual dream job, sometimes that season is actually preparing you for a different season, right? And that's what I was thinking whenever I was making these videos. I was like, okay, I'm learning skills and making these videos that I've never had before. Even if I feel like nothing's coming of this, at least I'm learning in this process, and at least I'm learning how to make videos well, which has helped me a lot now in the past while, especially making American Ninja Warrior submission videos and stuff like that. And learning just how to edit videos is becoming way more important as we become more of a digital generation.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's not like a perfect example because I don't work in software or in editing videos right now. But it's also cool just to see the preparation that hard work builds for your future if you do it as hard as you can.
Ziglar said it this way: if you do more than you're paid to do, there'll come a day when you're paid more to do what you do. And it's just this attitude of I'm going to give the extra. I'm going to go the extra mile. Yeah, I'm paid to do X, Y, and Z, but I'm going to go above and beyond. I'm going to go the extra step. I'm going to just step in and find out how I can help and how I can contribute to a greater degree than what my job description says. And that attitude eventually leads to promotions, to higher pay, to accomplishing more.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, and as you mentioned, it's hard for us to work hard. My generation has a lot of trouble working and actually striving to do things and get these projects done. And I think part of that is that we have a generation of people like you previous to us, maybe not everyone, but of people who got the job done. And so we got to just kind of watch you guys get the job done instead of partaking in that job. And so we feel like someone else is going to just do the job that we want to see done. So I think it's important to remember that if you see a job that needs to get done, or if you really want to better yourself and actually have skills that you can get paid for, you have to do it. No one else is going to do it for you. Like whenever I was first getting into school, my mom was the one who was kind of pulling the strings and making sure I was able to get into dual enrollment for college and everything like that. But nowadays, if I want an opportunity, I have to make it happen. You know, I'm old enough that my mom's not going to be the one, going into meetings and asking people if I can get in there, or if I could even get into a job. I'm not going to send my mom to go do a job interview for me. And I love my mom. She's really the reason. She'd do a good job of it, though. Yeah, she would do a good job. She's the reason I have been able to have the opportunities that I've had, including Ninja Warrior. She didn't go and grab the producers by the ear or anything, but she's the one who comes up with a lot of the ideas for us to do the things that we're doing. And so, I'm very grateful for that. But nowadays, she's trained me that now I have to get the job done. Yeah, it's on me.
So working hard is super important. We talked about talent, but hard work in the long run is going to beat natural talent. But But there's got to be this balance, because it's easy for me to throw myself into several projects and just keep driving. I have this ability to just put my head down and drive and drive and drive. When we first bought our house that we're in right now, and my parents and some nieces and nephews were coming into town to visit, I had an upstairs bathroom that I wanted to remodel ahead of time and get it done. And I worked 40 hours nonstop, 40 hours straight. And I was finishing caulking the sink, the last little project, finishing the bead, when I heard Grandpa and Grandma are here, and I just finished that caulk, threw the gun under the table, under the vanity, and went down and said hi to everyone. And then once everyone got greeted and settled, I crashed. But 40 hours straight. Now the thing is, I have that ability to do that, but it's not the healthiest thing.
Right.
And so I've had to learn to, and I'm not perfect at it, but maybe learning is a better word, learning to walk in this balance, this rhythm. I call it, and I've learned so much by just looking at the rhythms of Jesus, where there were times where people needed him, and there was always more work to be done. And when the crowds were pressing into him, there were times where he said, "You know what? I'm gonna take my disciples, and we're gonna go up in the mountains and pray. We're gonna go on the boat. We're gonna go across the lake. We're gonna just retreat." And so I look at it like the tide, like there's this ebb and this flow. And there's this push, serve, work, be fruitful, and then there's this retreat to rest, relax, refresh, renew.
Well, and I think we've talked about being lazy, but we also, we need to talk about the other side of is working too much, and not having that time to reflect and to pray, as you mentioned. And I think one thing that I've learned, and that, well, I think I've learned this from you, is that there's always going to be an urgent need. There's always something urgent that you have to get done right now. Especially in my brain, like if I see an issue that has always been there, but I've decided now it's the time to get it done, I'm going to run and get it done, and no one can stand in my way. It needs to get done right now. It has to be immediately, get it done. So in my brain, I think I have to learn that, like, just because an issue is urgent doesn't mean it's the most important thing you could be doing right there. Just because it feels urgent you feel it in your chest, the urgency, if you feel that doesn't mean it has to be immediately done in that instance. And so learning how to step away and, stop to not just fill your mind with things that you want to fill it with, like just sitting on Instagram. I don't think that's a great way to recharge, but actually sitting and reflecting and thinking about, even it helps you plan, and taking time to pray helps you to calm down and actually do something of significance for people around you. So it's super important to do stuff like that. Yeah.
I remember wishing that I didn't have to sleep, because I could be so much more fruitful. I could use that time to study, to learn, to get stuff done. And I thought, man, if I could just reduce my sleep, that would be the way to live through life. And I realized that sleep is a gift from God. That this idea of rest and Sabbath, and it's something God has given us. And so it changed my mindset to, rather than rejecting the gift, rather than shunning it, that I would embrace it. And so I almost never use an alarm clock. If I had something, I had to be at an airport or something early, I'll set an alarm clock, but I don't use an alarm clock. And so I allow my body, if my body needs more sleep, I allow my body that. Sleeping in for me looks different than a lot of people, but sleeping in for me is like 7:30.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, but still, I still love waking up early, but just understanding that there's this gift that God has given us, that He modeled for us of walking in that rhythm, of taking the rest when necessary, because it's necessary, and so slowing down, enjoying time with people, enjoying time alone, enjoying time with God. So I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm saying I've grown a lot and still learning. So
yeah, I think that's almost just a good place to kind of look at everything we've talked about and realize that all of it is modeled by Jesus quite well, and understanding that you need to go and go powerfully and get things done, and then you need to step back and take that time, we Sabbath, we take a day out of our week to not work out, to not work even, just to spend time with family and to spend time with God, and get recharged. Because, one thing that's so important is that if you do that, it's actually going to improve your longevity, improve your ability to go back to your job, or go back to what you need to get done, and do it even better. And something that that actually I was talking to one of my students about yesterday for ninja training. He was trying to learn this technique, and it was I won't explain the obstacle, that would take too long, but he was trying to learn how to do this obstacle, but whenever he was resting in between the obstacle, he'd just go and do other obstacles. So finally I sat him down and I said, your brain needs time to process the movement that you're doing, and it has to visualize you doing it without you doing all these other things, because you're just filling your mind with so many different movements right now. You're never going to be able to focus and learn this movement, because he wasn't able to figure it out. And after that, he just decided to sit and rest between every time he did it, and he started figuring it out. And sometimes if you do a movement, whether it's any type of training really, and then you take a break from doing that movement, a lot of time your brain will replay what you want to do so many times, your brain will start to figure things out without you having to constantly repeat it, and do it. So taking time to rest between training, taking time to rest between working, helps your brain to process it and actually understand it and make you do a better job instead of a worse job, as a lot of people feel.
Absolutely. Yeah, that rhythm's so important to being fruitful in the work. I don't want my life to be defined by work. I want it to be defined by fruitfulness, but also just being in the moment and enjoying life and living it. And especially when I'm with others, just being there, being present with them, being sharp, being ready to go. Yeah. Final thoughts that you might have towards young people in terms of anything we've talked about?
Let's see. How young are we talking? Teenagers?
What's that?
Teenagers?
Let's go to like 12 to teen.
I mean, if I could say anything to my younger version, is that you should try out a lot of different things. You should see what you like, and I don't mean try out a lot of different dumb things. I mean try out different ways of learning. Go study things that you aren't supposed to study in school necessarily. Like what I did is I thought clouds were really cool, so I went and studied what types of clouds were in the air, and I started learning about weather because of that, and I thought that was fun. And I think everyone should go and learn new things about different things in science or in history. Go learn from Napoleon Bonaparte and the way that he did strategy. Maybe don't learn his morals, and just go learn some new things. Go learn how to move differently. I think trying different things out when you're young is super important, so that you can get a feel for exactly what you want to do. Because a lot of people finish high school and then have no idea what they actually want to become or what they want to do. And so make sure that you try a lot of different things whenever you're young. Don't do anything too dumb. Don't jump off of I jumped off of some bridges whenever I was young, so just make sure there's good water underneath
bridges,
it. Yeah. And I'm not saying that to say that just go try anything, because I think you should have wisdom with the things that you try. I think that you should walk in wisdom while you're doing different things and experimenting in different areas, but at the same time we got to allow our brains to not just do the same thing over and over.
Follow some of those healthy interests.
Yeah, follow some healthy interests. Don't just sit on Instagram all day or on YouTube all day and spend your time doing stuff like that. Go take a walk. Go learn some new things.
Go live some life. Yeah, and I would say to parents, don't let your kids be lazy. Make sure they have chores. Make sure they have some kind of contribution to the family, to the house, and get them out moving, get them out exercising, and you got to model it yourself. Kids have a huge filter for hypocrisy, so go out and do it together, and work hard together and play hard together. Hey, thanks for jumping on this chat today. Enjoyed having you along.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And to those of you watching or listening, thanks for joining us. Be sure and like and subscribe and comment in the section, and it helps when you share it.
Follow us on Instagram too. And make sure that you're sharing with your friends if you found this content helpful, for sure. Bergstrom Bunch out. See you guys.